Honey, I'm pregnant. It was Saturday morning. I was still half asleep when my wife, Chloe, started shaking me awake. Her face was lit up with pure excitement. What? I mumbled, rubbing the sleep from my eyes and staring at her, completely dazed. I'm pregnant, she repeated. And just like that, I was wide awake. We'd been married for 3 years, and we'd agreed to put off having kids to focus on our careers. But our parents were always dropping hints, always asking. Eventually, we gave in and started trying. But it was frustrating. For 3 solid months, we were at it almost every day, but nothing happened. We were even starting to worry that something was medically wrong with her. So, for the last 2 months, we'd taken a break, deciding to just relax and let things happen naturally. Now, hearing she was pregnant was the best news I could imagine. How far along? I asked, a huge grin spreading across my face. Normally, a pregnancy test is accurate after about 6 weeks. If I did the math, she had to be at least 2 months along. After all, the last time we'd been intimate was 2 months ago. The thought that our baby would be here in just 7 more months sent a thrill through me. 40 days, Chloe blurted out, caught up in the joy of the moment. 40 days. My mind screeched to a halt. We hadn't touched each other for 2 months while we were taking a break. How could she possibly be 40 days pregnant? Are you sure? I asked, my face a mask of confusion. I stared at her, unable to believe what I was hearing. Of course, I trusted her. She was my wife. Maybe she just got her dates mixed up. How could I not be? Chloe started to say, but her words caught in her throat. The color drained from her face. She quickly grabbed my arm, her voice suddenly sweet and pleading. Oh, honey, listen to me. I'm so out of it. I can't even remember the dates right. Our baby is 2 months along. Hearing her correct herself, the knot of tension in my chest finally loosened. It was a simple mistake. That was all. It proved she was loyal to me. Sweetheart, I'm taking tomorrow off. Let's go to the doctor and get everything checked out, I said, taking her hand. My heart was overflowing with joy and happiness. For the last 6 months, my coworkers were always complaining about how exhausting it was to take their wives to endless prenatal appointments. But to me, it sounded like the most wonderful thing in the world. No, don't, she said, immediately shutting it down. You need to focus on work. I can go by myself. Her words hit me like a warm wave. She was so considerate, so understanding. I felt a surge of emotion. Marrying her was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to me. Honey, I said, pulling her into a hug. This is our baby in there. There's no way I'm letting you go to the hospital alone. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm taking you for a checkup. As far as I was concerned, this was just part of being a husband. She tried to protest again, but I cut her off. The next day, I was up early to make breakfast. After we ate, I drove Chloe to the hospital. A pregnancy should be a happy occasion, but the whole way there, she seemed on edge. I figured she was probably worried about her body changing, so I tried to reassure her, telling her that no matter what, I would love her just the same. 20 minutes later, we arrived. The test confirmed it. She was pregnant. But when I saw the ultrasound report, my blood ran cold. Printed in clear, black letters, gestational age, 40 days. How was that possible? Suddenly, I remembered what she'd said last night. Could it be? That business trip I took. I clutched the report in my hand and walked quickly toward the doctor's office. Doctor, I said, pushing the door open and stepping inside. Leo. To my surprise, Chloe was already in the office. She'd told me she was going to the restroom. Oh, honey, she said, looking at me. I just came straight here after the restroom. Are the results in? She was acting perfectly normal. For a second, I wondered if maybe the machine had made a mistake. Doctor, here's the report, I said, handing the ultrasound printout over, hoping for a rational explanation. Looks good, the doctor said, nodding with satisfaction. Fetal development is normal. No issues here. Just make sure she gets plenty of rest and good nutrition. He handed the report back. Thank you, doctor, Chloe said, immediately getting up and pulling my arm, trying to lead me out of the room. Wait, I said, pulling my arm free and turning back to the doctor. Doctor, the timing. It seems a little off. I pointed to the 40 days on the report, looking at him with a deeply troubled expression. If I didn't get a straight answer, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. What's wrong with it? Chloe interjected, tugging at my sleeve. There's nothing wrong. I ignored her, keeping my eyes locked on the doctor, waiting for him to speak. Well, the doctor glanced uncomfortably at Chloe, then seemed to steel himself before speaking slowly. The gestational age on an ultrasound is just an estimate. It's based on the size of the fetus. Perhaps development is a little slow. I'd recommend you just keep an eye on it. I couldn't accept that explanation, not after the look that passed between him and Chloe. Thank you, doctor, I said, forcing a smile as I let Chloe pull me out of the office. But by then, A plan was already forming in my head. My coworker, Dave, had a cousin who worked at this hospital. I'd give him a call this afternoon. After I dropped Chloe at home, I took the ultrasound report and drove straight to my office. Dave, I found him before even going to my own desk. What's up? Dave asked with a casual smile. My wife's pregnant, I said, getting right to it. Could you ask your cousin at the hospital to take a look at this report for me? I didn't go into the details, of course. No problem, Dave said, and immediately called his cousin. 15 minutes later, I had my answer. The report was accurate. Chloe was exactly 40 days pregnant. Fetal development was perfectly normal. Dave hung up and started congratulating me, but I was in a daze. I don't even remember how I got back to my office. No, I couldn't just sit here and let this happen. I needed revenge. All the years of our relationship, our marriage, they evaporated in that single moment. That evening, I went home in the best of moods. If she was pregnant, then I was going to be the most doting husband imaginable. I was going to make her feel cherished. Ever since we got married, Chloe had handled everything around the house. But that night, I cooked a huge, elaborate dinner. She was so moved she broke down in tears, swearing she would love me forever. I didn't believe a word of it, but I didn't let on, because as of that afternoon, I no longer had any feelings for her. No matter how you slice it, I worked my ass off to provide for our family. Her betrayal had cut me to the core. After dinner, Chloe went to take a shower. I was sitting on the couch, trying to figure out my next move. She had to be punished. Just then, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up and unlocked it. The passcode was still her birthday. But when I saw the message on the screen, I almost choked with rage. Hey babe, the Lakeside Hotel, room 808. Waiting for you, winky face. The sender was saved as T-Mobile support. Are you fucking kidding me? This was obviously planned, but it didn't matter anymore. She was already carrying another man's child. A moment later, a cold calm settled over me. So, you two like to play games? Fine, let's play. While she was in the shower, I started scrolling through her message history. To my surprise, it was completely empty. Did she really think that would be enough to hide her tracks? Honey, as I was deep in thought, Chloe walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel. You. Her face went pale when she saw me holding her phone. Your phone was buzzing, I said calmly, locking the screen and handing it to her. Oh. She took the phone, glanced at the screen, and quickly deleted the message. She had no idea I'd already seen it. Honey, Lily's boyfriend is out of town, and she asked me to stay over with her, Chloe said, looking at me with an apologetic smile. So I can't be with you tonight. Lily was her best friend. They were practically joined at the hip. In the past, whenever I was away on business, Lily would often keep Chloe company. But this was different. That text wasn't from Lily. If she had just been honest with me, maybe, for the sake of our history, I would have given her another chance. But here she was, lying to my face, getting ready to go meet her lover without a shred of guilt. Rage burned in my chest, but I wouldn't say a word, because I had already decided. I was going to make them both pay. I was going to ruin them. Okay, I said with a small smile. No problem. Go keep Lily company. Go get changed. I'll drive you over. I want to see just how long she could keep up this act. No, it's fine, she refused immediately, smiling. You should rest. You have work tomorrow. I'll just get an Uber. On the surface, she was being considerate. In reality, she was terrified of me taking her. You're pregnant. I'm worried about you, I said, playing the part of the perfect husband. I insist. It's not far. Oh, we were both acting now, weren't we? The more she resisted, the more I was going to insist. Okay, fine. Finally, she reluctantly agreed. She didn't say a single word to me the entire drive. I was laughing to myself on the inside. This was just too good. 10 minutes later, I pulled up in front of Lily's apartment building. Drive safe on the way back, Chloe said, jumping out of the car, desperate for me to leave. I could see the anxiety written all over her face. Let me walk you up, I said, getting out and taking her arm. As I did, I switched on the tiny digital recorder in my hand and slipped it into her purse. I just wanted to see her squirm. No, don't, she said, pulling away. It's late. Lily's by herself. It would be awkward. You go home and get some rest. I'm heading up. And with that, she turned and hurried into the building without so much as a goodbye. I drove around the corner and parked where I couldn't be seen. I knew the second she thought I was gone, she'd head for the hotel. I kept my eyes glued to the entrance of the building. A few minutes later, she walked out. Seeing it with my own eyes was like a knife in my heart. The woman I had loved so deeply had actually betrayed me. She was on the phone now, but she was too far away for me to hear anything. That's when I remembered the recorder. I quickly pulled out my phone and opened the remote listening app. Honey, I'm so sorry. Something came up. I'm on my way now. Just wait a little longer. Chloe's voice came through, full of apology. Then I heard her giggle. You brat. I'll make it up to you later. Their conversation was disgusting. Should I go catch them in the act? But even if I did, what good would it do? No, I would stick to my plan. I shut off the app and drove home. Half an hour later, I opened the listening app again. Come on, baby, hurry up. I can't wait any longer. A middle-aged man's voice purred. Wait, Chloe said, her voice hesitant. What about the baby? The baby. The goddamn baby. So it really wasn't mine. I clenched my jaw. What are you worried about? The man said dismissively. Just have it. Let your husband raise it. Son of a bitch. They were animals. How could I do that? Chloe said, her voice filled with anxiety. If he finds out, everything will be ruined. It seemed she had at least a shred of decency left. At least she knew she shouldn't keep a child that wasn't her husband's. He won't know if you don't tell him, and I don't tell him. Who's gonna know? The man cooed, sweet-talking her again. Now hurry up. I missed you so much. Then the sounds that followed made me sick to my stomach. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to storm into that hotel room and beat them both to a pulp. But what would that accomplish? Earn me a reputation as the town cuckold? Become a laughingstock? It took a long time for me to calm down. She did this, and, on top of it all, she got pregnant with his child. She had to have this baby. The day the child was born would be the day of reckoning. Chloe came home the next morning. When I asked, she said Lily's boyfriend had come back from his trip early. A one-night business trip, right? I didn't call her on her bullshit. There was no point. The time for confrontation hadn't come yet. I would wait until the damage was irreversible. I would even let her find out what kind of man her lover really was. But when she did, she'd have to live with the consequences. Life went on as usual, except I started doting on her even more. But my actions weren't driven by love. They were driven by something else entirely. One day, I overheard Chloe on the phone with a man. They were planning to meet at our house for a thrill. She was initially against it, but that same day, I told her the company was sending me on a business trip. The look of pure joy on her face when she heard the news was sickening. The moment I left the house, she was on the phone with him. I saw red. Luckily, I had been anticipating something like this. Before leaving, I had installed a hidden camera in our bedroom. After work, I checked into a hotel. The show was about to begin. If she wanted thrills, I'd give her a thrill she'd never forget. Lying on the hotel bed, my mind was a mess. We were still married. The thought of her doing this behind my back, it hurt more than I wanted to admit. After a long struggle, I finally opened my phone and pulled up the camera feed. Chloe had already showered and was wearing a sheer nightgown. Just then, a man appeared in the frame. Mark Peterson, my former business partner. I remember bringing Chloe to a dinner meeting with him when we were working on a deal. The way he looked at her that night, it hadn't seemed right. I never thought, that bastard. But as they say, it takes two to tango. I forced myself to suppress the rage boiling inside me and kept watching. Mark pulled her into his arms, and they tangled together before moving into the bedroom. Then, Mark and my wife proceeded to have sex on the bed that I had paid $20,000 for. Watching the screen, I gritted my teeth so hard I thought they would crack. I wanted to tear them limb from limb. But in the end, I held back. She wasn't worth it. Half an hour later, a look of deep satisfaction spread across Chloe's face. I felt nauseous. Pushing down my fury, I saved the video file. I went home the next day. I didn't say a single word about what had happened. My plan was simple. Let her have the baby. Mark was a married man. That's when the real show would begin. By then, Chloe would be drowning in regret. And when I threw her out, her only option would be to run to him. How they dealt with that mess wouldn't be my problem. In the months that followed, I didn't touch her. I was too disgusted. But I had the perfect excuse. The doctor said we should abstain during the pregnancy. Because I was so insistent, she couldn't do anything about it. But she still snuck around with Mark. It didn't matter. As long as they were careful, it wouldn't cause any problems. And even if it did, I had the evidence I needed to kick her out of my house. Time flew. More than 8 months passed in the blink of an eye. Throughout her pregnancy, I was the perfect, attentive husband. I pretended to be clueless about the due date discrepancy. Of course, I knew full well that according to her timeline, the baby was nearly 2 months late. As the delivery date got closer, my spirits lifted. All my efforts over these past months were about to pay off. The show was about to start. One day, Chloe started having stomach pains. I knew this was it. She was in labor. I excitedly drove her to the hospital. Then, I called her parents and told them to come. I didn't reveal the truth, of course. The timing wasn't right yet. After leaving the hospital, I went straight home and retrieved the divorce papers I had already prepared. 2 hours later, my mother-in-law called, demanding to know why I wasn't at the hospital. Mom, I'm really swamped at work. I'll be over later. Before she could reply, I hung up. I was waiting for the right moment. The baby had to be born first. That would make it so much more interesting. Half an hour later, she called again. Leo Turner, What the hell is wrong with you? She yelled, her thick southern accent making every word a curse. My daughter is in there giving birth to your son, and you can't even be bothered to show up? What job is more important than my daughter's life? You get your ass down to this hospital right now, or you'll never see your son again. Her words didn't faze me. She probably had no idea what was really going on. I hung up before she could finish. Another half an hour passed. I got a text from her. Chloe had given birth to a boy. If he wasn't Mark Peterson's son, my life would be so much better. But he was. I picked up the divorce papers and headed for the hospital. On the way, I made a phone call to Mark Peterson's wife. I told her that Mark's mistress had just given birth to his son. Leo, you have some nerve showing your face here, my mother-in-law screeched the moment I walked into the hospital room. I didn't say anything. I just smiled faintly and walked over to the bed. Chloe, let's get a divorce, I said, throwing the papers onto her lap. You cheated. You leave with nothing. Chloe stared at me, stunned. My mother-in-law and father-in-law just looked confused. They could probably live 1,000 years and never figure this out. With that, I turned to leave. Stop right there, my mother-in-law shouted as I reached the door. Leo, are you insane? Chloe just gave you a son, and you want to divorce her? Everything was going exactly as I had planned. I didn't answer. I just walked out of the room. As I stepped into the hallway, I saw Mark Peterson's wife storming toward Chloe's room, fuming. And behind her were 4 other women. They meant business. Chloe was in for a world of hurt, but I didn't feel a shred of pity for her. She cheated on me. She thought I was an idiot who would raise another man's child. Not a chance. A moment later, the sound of shouting erupted from the room. I smirked and left the hospital. Sitting in my car, I still felt like it wasn't enough. So I forwarded the video of Chloe and Mark to his corporate email server. And for good measure, I sent it to Chloe's entire family group chat. 15 days later, the divorce was finalized. From what I heard, Mark was fired from his job and his wife divorced him. As for me, I sold the house and left that city of painful memories behind. One day, I was at my new job when I got an unexpected text message. It was from Mark Peterson's ex-wife. The message was straightforward. She said she thought I was a good man, and to make up for the pain Mark had caused me, she wanted to be with me. What the hell? Mark's ex-wife was loaded. An heiress, the only daughter in her family. Her future inheritance. What should I do? Say yes or no? I need an answer. Online now, waiting. Seriously.